Have you ever stared at a block of Java code and just thought, what am I even looking at? Yeah, you are definitely not alone. Today we're going to take that classic Hello World program and we're going to tear it apart, piece by piece, until it makes perfect sense. So let's get right to it.
All right, here it is, in all its glory, the classic Hello World program. This is the rite of passage for pretty much every programmer on the planet. With just these few lines of code, we're going to make the computer say hello. Let's see how it works.
I know. At first glance, this can look like a total jumble of random words and symbols. But I promise you, by the time we're done here, you'll see there's a really clear logic to every single part of this. Let's dive in. Okay, first things first. Before we go any further, you've got to understand the biggest, most important rule in all of Java. Everything, and I mean everything, lives inside something called a class. So we're going to start with this outer shell right here. This very first line is what sets the stage for our entire program. Everything else that happens is going to happen inside those two little curly brackets.
So what on earth is a class? The best way to think about it is like a blueprint for a house. You wouldn't just start throwing up walls without a plan, right? Well, in the same way, a class provides the whole structure for your Java program. It's the container that holds it all together.
Let's look a little closer at what's happening. The word public is kind of like an open for business sign. It makes our code accessible. The keyword class is just us telling Java, hey, we're making a blueprint now. We've decided to name our blueprint main, and this part is super important. Our file has to be named the exact same thing, main.java. And finally, those curly brackets, they're like the walls of our house, defining where our class begins and ends.
Okay, so we've got our blueprint. Now let's step inside and find the engine room of the whole operation.
Now this line might look a little scary, but really it's just a very specific, very important signpost that Java is looking for. Think of it like a giant flashing neon arrow that says, start here.
Every single Java application has to have what's called a main method. It is the official front door. When you hit run, the very first thing Java does is search for this exact line to figure out where to begin. Without it, your program is just a house with no doors. It can't do anything.
Now don't get bogged down trying to memorize all these keywords right now. Seriously, don't worry about it. For now, just think of this entire line as a single magic spell that tells Java this is where the real action starts. We'll dig into what all these words mean later on, I promise.
All right, we've got the structure and we've got the starting point. Now for the really exciting part, the line of code that actually makes something happen.
This is it. This is the command. This is what it's all about. This one little instruction is what takes the text inside those quotation marks and tells the computer to display it right on your screen.
So let's break this one down too. We start with System, which is a powerful built-in class that Java gives us. Then we use .out to say we want to send something to the standard output, which is just a fancy way of saying your screen. Finally, println is the actual command, and it just means print a line. So we're literally telling the system to send a line of text to the output. See? It makes sense when you see it that way.
And that's all it takes. That one line brings Hello World to life. You've officially told the computer what to say, and it listened. That is a fantastic feeling and a huge first step.
So we know what the code does, but how does the computer actually understand it? Let's pull back the curtain for a second and see what's happening behind the scenes when you hit that run button.
Your code actually goes on a pretty cool little journey. It starts with you writing your source code in a file that ends in .java. Then, the Java compiler, its nickname is javac, acts like a translator. It turns your code into a universal language called bytecode. Finally, something called the Java Virtual Machine, or JVM, acts as the interpreter. It reads that bytecode and tells your computer exactly what to do. And it doesn't matter if you're on a Mac, a Windows PC, or a Linux machine.
And this is the secret sauce of Java. This is where its famous motto comes from: write once, run anywhere. Because the JVM does all the heavy lifting of translating for the specific computer, your one piece of bytecode can run on any machine that has a JVM. It's incredibly powerful.
Here's a really easy way to remember all this. Your source code, that .java file, is like a recipe you wrote down. The compiler is like a universal translator that turns your recipe into a super simple format anyone can read. That's the bytecode. And the JVM is the master chef who can take that universal recipe and cook it perfectly in any kitchen, anywhere in the world. Make sense, right?
So let's put all the pieces together. We started with what looked like a block of confusing text, and now, hopefully you see it's a logical, step-by-step process.
So let's just quickly recap the most important things to remember. First, every single Java program is built inside a class. Second, the main method is always the official starting point. Third, System.out.println is your new best friend for getting your program to talk. And finally, your code gets compiled into that universal bytecode that the JDM can run just about anywhere.
You've done it. You've officially decoded your first Java program. You've made a machine speak on your command. The real question now is, what are you going to ask it to do next?